This video has been sponsored by Thrive. In today's episode of I saw something delicious online recently, so I'm making it into a video as an excuse to eat too much of it. We are going to be testing out 4 different variations of crab rolls. If you've never had one, it's basically just a lobster roll, and instead of lobster, it's crab. Sometimes it's got lettuce, sometimes it's served cold with mayo, other times hot with drawn butter or a beurre blanc in our case. And the 4 chefs stepping in the ring today with their versions are going to be Martha Stewart and Gordon Ramsay, Sam the Cooking Guy, and Not Another Cooking Show. Leave a comment right now with who you think is going to take the W today, and let's get right into this one. Now, unlike some of the other giant versus episodes like this, say the focaccia bread or even the chicken parm, each one of these recipes could not be any more different. I think the only similarity is maybe that there's some kind of crab and bread involved. But before I can get started with any of them, I wanted to give a huge shout out to my friends over at Thrive. Right now, 1 in 5 Americans are struggling with gut health issues because of their diet. Too many refined sugars, artificial colorings, and hormone-filled fried foods are causing our guts to deteriorate. Thankfully, we can fix a lot of these issues with a better diet and the right probiotics, and Thrive is here to make that journey even easier. I was kinda shocked when I heard just how many side effects could potentially be linked with poor gut health. If you're feeling bloated, having trouble sleeping, if you got a weak immune system, or you have trouble focusing or maintaining a positive mood, those can all be signs of poor gut health. Honestly, I was jumping at the opportunity to partner up with Thrive, considering the torture I have put my body through these last few years. So a couple weeks back, I took the at-home gut health test, and I learned quite a few interesting things. This test picked up almost 60,000 species of bacteria from my sample, and due to a lack of certain beneficial bacteria, I learned I was more likely to have fatigue and poor sleep quality. With these results came a personalized food plan to help the healthy bacteria, as well as suggestions for different probiotics. So if you are potentially struggling with any of the health issues I mentioned, or you're just curious about your gut health, click the link in the top line of the description, go to trythrive.com/David Seymour, and you will get 50% off of your gut health test. Considering that I have never made a Martha Stewart recipe on the channel, I think it is only fair to allow the newcomer to go first. For her recipe, you will need some split top buns and kosher salt, some mayo and butter lettuce, a lemon and jumbo lump crab meat, some cayenne pepper and Old Bay seasoning, unsalted butter, and some fresh chives. I was actually pretty surprised when I realized I had never made a Martha Stewart recipe. I feel like I've made plenty of her recipes just in life, not on videos. I will admit though, whenever I hear her name or see her anywhere, the first thing that comes to mind was her prison sentence way back when. Just because that was such a bizarre scenario. Like, I never envisioned Martha Stewart in jail. But Martha, or her team, if you're watching, please don't sue me. I'm sure you were innocent. Anyways, with this damn crab roll, you basically make up a seasoned mayo with some lemon juice and the seasonings. You toss your can of pre-cooked jumbo lump meat, toast up your bun, and then load it with your butter lettuce and the filling. It's super simple. You can whip this up in a couple minutes, and it looks like a great place to start for today's video. I won't lie to you, this looks more like a pasta salad sandwich than crab. This is good. There's nothing to not like about it. I love the crispy bread. I love the seasoning. It's also deceptively fresh. I know it came out of a can, but when you add the lettuce, the fresh chives, even the lemon juice to brighten it up, it kind of reads fresher than straight out of can. This one's just gonna depend on the quality of crab that you buy. There's cans in the store for like 15 bucks. I think this one was 30-ish. There's some that are even more than that. This one's pretty good, but from what I know is coming, there are multiple higher notches that we can take this to. Second today is the man, the myth, the legend, Gordon Ramsay, who has now made a few appearances on the channel, and his stuff is usually always great, so I am very excited for this one. To make his Norwegian grilled king crab rolls, you will need some olive oil and seaweed, some scallions, and very large, very expensive crab legs, fresh parsley and heavy cream, some vodka and white wine vinegar, salt, some enriched split top buns, scallion, fennel seeds, caraway seeds, star anise, some butter, lemon, sugar, and fresh dill. If you couldn't already tell from that ingredient list alone, this recipe is a complete 180 from the last one. It was very pricey to start. Each one of those crab legs was about $25 a piece. And it's actually gonna take me more than a day because in order to make the beurre blanc sauce, I needed to make pickled shallots and then a homemade, hold on one second, aquavit, which is apparently a Norwegian botanical spirit that we don't have in the US. So in order to make a mock version of that, I had to steep all of my seeds, the fresh lemon and dill, in some vodka in the fridge for about a day and a half. I'm sorry to any Europeans out there that are disgusted or offended by this substitution. It's the best I can do right now. Once that was ready though, I was finally able to make the beurre blanc sauce, which is basically just a white sauce with some butter, vinegar, and sometimes heavy cream like for this one. And finally, now that the first sauce component of this was done, I can get started with the fresh herb salad that's gonna line the bottom, and then our enormous king crab legs that I'm gonna warm up out on the grill. I could be wrong, but I think this is the third or fourth recipe I've done from Gordon, and they're usually all great. I have kind of weirdly always wanted him to see one of these videos and probably roast the hell out of me. Maybe I'll just apply to one of his 1,200 TV shows so I can get reamed out on live TV in front of a much larger audience. The second half of this recipe isn't too terrible. You just gotta grill up the inside of your bun, which I appreciate. Usually seafood rolls only grill the exterior, which always confused me. And then just remove your huge chunks of crab meat from this very dangerous and spiky shell. And then throw it all together so we can finally eat it after 2 days. Recipe number 2, it is time to give you a try. Some of you may say that this is cheating, this is not a fair fight, a expensive fresh crab leg versus a canned one. Listen, it's a crab roll. Oh my god. I'm sorry, I don't know if this is a hot take these days, but this is better than lobster. The meat is so much softer and sweeter and just more delicate. Overall, this is delicious and definitely better than the last one, but I'm almost wondering if I'd prefer this without so much other stuff. You've got so much of the very strong fresh herbs on the bottom. You've got pickled onions. You kind of cover the whole thing in a sauce. You taste everything else more than you taste the crab. Like I said though, it is better than the last one, but I still think there's even more room for improvement. Next on the agenda is Sam the Cooking Guy with his crab salad roll. I procured some olive oil and scallions, fresh dill and parsley, a can of crab meat, Old Bay, sriracha, Kewpie mayo, a round Portuguese roll, and some celery. Again, I know what you're probably thinking, how is a crab salad supposed to stack up to the very expensive and complicated version that we just made? I think if anybody can do it, it is Sam. As I said, this guy does not know what bland is. He already won the Nashville hot chicken competition, if you missed that, and then so graciously accepted the W in his video. And for this one, we gotta chop up a whole bunch of herbs and the celery. And then I popped open the can of crab. I've only really ever used this kind of crab for crab cakes, which get cooked. I don't know if this is pre-cooked already. I want to say that it is, just based on like the appearance and the smell, but the can doesn't say anywhere, and I'm not really in the mood for food poisoning at the moment, so I figured it couldn't hurt to just bring it up to temperature in a little pan, and then just blast chill it back down. This way it guarantees that I'm not eating mouthfuls of raw crab. I let it sit in the fridge for about a half hour afterwards just to come back down, and then I loaded in all my herbs, some Old Bay, the sriracha, and the Kewpie mayonnaise. If I haven't said this already, Sam single-handedly put me on to Kewpie mayonnaise. It is by far my favorite condiment now. It's just a Japanese mayo that's made with purely egg yolks instead of the whole egg, and I believe some MSG, so it tastes really good. I got my mixture whipped up and then promptly stuffed into the sides of the Portuguese roll. And now is the time to try recipe number 3. This choice of bread and stuffing method was pretty interesting. I don't know if he just didn't have split top rolls or he prefers this. And also they kind of look like giant stuffed squid or calamari. This is another one where the results are gonna vary so much based on the quality of crab that you buy. Everything else is good except the crab. I honestly think this could have been tuna or like a canned chicken with Old Bay, and I don't know that I would know the difference. It's got a little bit of texture from the crunchy bread and the scallion. I like the heat from the sriracha. This is actually probably my favorite bread of the day, which is not surprising. This came from a decent local bakery. Those other ones are like just mass-produced white and brioche breads. On any other day, I would eat this for lunch and not really question it, but on a day like today, not really holding up. Last today is Steven, or Not Another Cooking Show's recipe. He keeps his super simple, almost exactly like a lobster roll recipe, just subbing in the crab. I grabbed those top sliced buns and mayo, some oregano and salt and pepper, butter, ground thyme, some celery seed and lemon, fresh chives, and the last of our king crab. I believe this is Steven's second appearance ever on the channel. I had him in the giant Alfredo pasta versus, and I think he came in third place. If you don't already watch his channel, he's another one of those very talented but underappreciated food channels. He kind of flies under the radar, and I actually think I am from the same area as him. Somewhere in the Hudson Valley of New York, but I've never met him or talked to him, so if you guys know, you can confirm that. Oddly enough, I actually think I might be most excited to try this recipe, because when I hear crab roll, I think almost exactly carbon copy of a lobster roll, just with the crab in it. And that's pretty much exactly what this is. I first made the spice dust and blended it up in my smoothie coffee spice grinder blender. I deshelled the meat, and since it's already cooked, as we covered before, we're just gonna warm it up in some butter on the stovetop this time. I did break it up into some bite-sized pieces, just like his video. I do think that makes it look more appealing or appetizing, more like a lobster roll, instead of one big log of like crab leg on there. Of course, we are toasting off the bun again. I do wish the inside of the bun saw heat too, but that is a minor nitpick. And then already we can assemble this super simply, just with a little bit of mayo, as much crab meat as I could possibly stuff in this thing, some of our herb dust, and then some chopped up chives. It's been a fun couple days of making crab rolls and having my whole house smell like a seafood market, but it is finally time to try the fourth and final recipe. Well, that's the winner. Goodbye, everyone. How is something that good? This is one of the best things I've ever eaten. The crab is perfect. The buttery toasted bun is perfect. I love the little seasoning powder. It's the perfect little additive without being too much. When you have an ingredient like a king crab or a lobster tail that is so expensive, but it's just so good on its own, you don't need so much other stuff just drowning out the flavor of it. That was by far the best crab roll I've ever eaten. That was probably better than any lobster roll I've eaten too. That was just incredible. Great job, Steven. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave me a big old like. Thank you again to Thrive for making this one possible. Shout out to all the chefs that were shown in today's video. You guys are usually super cool and down with this whole testing series, so I appreciate you all. Follow me over on Twitter and Instagram if you do not already, and other than that, have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you right back here next time. Peace!
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my A-team. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision.